What is sumo wrestling? Sumo wrestling is an agricultural ritual performed to the Japanese gods for good harvest. It is also Japan's national sport since 1909. Sumo wrestling is basically two rikishi, also known as sumo wrestlers, trying to throw their opponent on the floor or out of bounds. Normally, a match only lasts about 1 minute. It is also Japan's oldest and most beloved sport. And although it may not seem like it, sumo wrestling is an incredibly hard sport to master. Like, just imagine how hard it is to move something over 500 pounds. The rules of sumo wrestling. How do you win in sumo wrestling? You would win if your opponent's body parts aside from the sole of the feet touch the ground, or if he steps out of the doyo. These are the allowed actions a rikishi is allowed to do. A rikishi is allowed to push, slap, grab, lock, throw, trip, and redirect their opponent. These are the prohibited actions a rikishi is not allowed to do. Doing any of these actions would result in an instant disqualification. A rikishi is not allowed to kick, punch, poke, scratch. Apply physical contact to your opponent's crouch area or lose their miwashi. A match of sumo starts immediately after both rikishis knuckle touch the floor. There is also no time limit in sumo, but each match usually ends within a minute. For extremely religious reasons, before a match each rikishi must do the following. Clean their mouths with sacred water, stomp on the doyo to stomp out bad spirits. Throw special salt into the doyo to purify it, and perform a few specific moves to show that each rikishi wants to play fair and have no weapons on them. These are some additional rules of sumo wrestling. In tournaments, women are not allowed to step or be anywhere near the doyo. Another rule is foreign rikishis are not allowed to take part in ritual sumo matches such as big tournaments in Japan. The sumo wrestlers, also known as the rikishis. Here are some things you probably didn't know about rikishis. Rikishis dedicate their whole life to train and eat for sumo wrestling, and believe it or not, rikishis are probably more healthy than you. They are strong, have great reflex, and incredible balance. They eat almost 20,000 calories a day and burn up to 30,000 calories a day. No wonder they're so fat. Rikishi skips breakfast and had a very heavy lunch. Their lunch consists of high-protein meat and eggs, a lot of vegetables that has a lot of vitamins. They normally eat a giant stew called chakanabe. Their daily routine is usually like this: train, eat, sleep, free time. Most rikishis live in stables where they eat, sleep, and get trained by retired and experienced masters until the end of their career. Unfortunately, rikishis usually die 10 years younger than most people. Why are rikishis considered healthy? Well, it's because science shows that unlike a normal overweight human, rikishis doesn't have much visceral fat around their vital organs. Visceral fat is the fat that builds up around your vital organs, which may cause high blood pressure, diabetes, strokes, or even heart attacks. Because of all the exercises a rikishi gets, his body has developed a hormone called adipinectin. This molecule acts like a barricade, stopping the fat from entering the bloodstream. Instead, it goes right under the skin, which is why rikishis get so fat. The heaviest rikishi to ever live was Yamamoto Yama, who was 584 pounds. In sumo wrestling, there are 10 ranks. You start as a janakuchi and slowly gain ranks or lose ranks. The goal of every Rikishi is to become a Yokozuna who is treated with extremely high respect and has godlike status. You can distinguish who's a grand champion in the dojo by searching for the rope around his miwashi. The first 5 ranks are called makuuchi and they are referred to as the top division. In sumo wrestling matches, you always see a random guy holding a fan and dressed in fancy silk. Who is he? Well, he is the gyoji. What is a gyoji? A gyoji is the rite of sumo wrestling. The fan he is holding is used to determine the winner. He points the fan to one Rikishi's side once he has determined the winner. The silk he wears is traditional Shinto priest clothing. In sumo wrestling, each gyoji is ranked. The more important matches between yokozunas would be enforced by a highly ranked gyoji. Tape gyoji is the highest rank. He usually wears purple clothing because it represents luxury in Japan. There were many differences between sumo wrestling now and sumo wrestling during the Edo period. In fact, rikishis only became fat during the 20th century because there was no longer a weight size. Sumo wrestling started as 2 samurais fighting each other with swords on behalf of their master. These matches were also far more religious and traditional. Also, instead of at an arena, most matches during the Edo period took place near shrines. There also wasn't a ref. Instead, the umpire called all the shots. And now, it's time for my boss to try sumo wrestling.